Voting is this huge part of our democracy, right? But what really happens when you step inside a polling place? Well, this is your simple, step-by-step guide to voting in person. We're going to break it all down so you can walk in with total confidence on Election Day. I mean, have you ever really thought about it? We see it on TV all the time, but the details can be a little fuzzy. What goes on between walking through that door and finally putting your ballot in the box? We're going to clear up that whole process for you, from start to finish. Okay, so let's get into it. Our journey actually starts before you even head out the door. The very first and maybe the most important step is knowing exactly where you need to go on Election Day. See, you can't just vote at any old place. When you register, you are assigned one specific polling place based on your address. This is super important because it guarantees you get the correct ballot with the candidates for your district. You can find your location on the notice you get in the mail, or you can just look it up online. Getting this right is the first piece of the puzzle. Next up, timing. You know where to go, but when do you go? Well, for big state elections, the hours are pretty standard, usually something like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. But for smaller, local elections, those times can definitely be different. So the key here is to always double check with your local election office so you don't miss your window to vote. And hey, here is a really important rule to keep in your back pocket. Do not panic if you're still waiting in line when the polls officially close. As long as you are physically in that line at that time, you have the right to vote. They will not turn you away, period. So once you're inside, the whole thing really just boils down to these 3 simple steps. You check in, you mark your ballot, and you cast your vote. That's pretty much it. So let's break down exactly what each of those looks like, starting with checking in. All right, this is your first stop inside the polling place. It's a really quick and easy process, just to confirm you're in the right spot and get you ready to vote. When it's your turn, you'll just walk up to the check-in table. All you need to do is tell the poll worker your address and then your name. They'll find you on the voter list and repeat your info back to you, just to make sure everything's correct. It's that simple. Now, here's a question a lot of people have. Do I need to bring my ID? And the answer is maybe. Most of the time, no. But you might be asked for it if you're a first-time voter in Massachusetts, if your registration is listed as inactive, or for a couple of other specific reasons. Because of that, it's always a good idea just to bring a valid ID with you, just in case. And when we say ID, it doesn't just mean a driver's license. Lots of different documents will work, like a recent utility bill, a lease agreement, or really any official printout. The main thing is that it has to show your name and the address where you're registered to vote. Now, for primary elections, there's one little extra thing at check-in. If you're registered with a political party, you'll just get that party's ballot. But if you're unenrolled or independent, you actually get to choose which party's primary you want to vote in. And this is important. Choosing a party's ballot for a primary does not enroll you in that party. You're still independent. So you're all checked in, and they've handed you your ballot. Now it's time to head to a private voting booth and make your selections. A poll worker is going to hand you your ballot, and you'll go into a private voting booth. Once you're inside, just read the instructions right at the top. It'll tell you exactly how to mark your choices, whether that means filling in an oval, connecting parts of an arrow, or making an X. But what if you need a little help reading or marking the ballot? No problem, there are great options available. You can bring a person you trust into the booth with you, or you can ask 2 poll workers for help. Also, every single polling place has an accessible machine called an auto mark, which can actually read the ballot out loud to you and mark your choices. You've made your choices, and now it's time for the final and, let's be honest, the most satisfying step, officially casting your vote so it gets counted. Once you're all done, you take your marked ballot over to the ballot box. In most places, this is a machine where you'll insert your ballot and it gets scanned and counted right there. In some smaller towns that count by hand, you'll just fold it up and place it in a sealed box. And that's it. Your vote is officially in. So ideally, everything goes smoothly. But if there is a problem, it's really important to know your rights. There are systems in place to make sure every single eligible vote gets counted. Let's cover what to do if an issue comes up. For example, let's say you're a first-time voter and you forgot your ID. It happens. In this situation, you can cast what's called a provisional ballot. This lets you vote right then and there, and as long as you come back with your ID before the polls close, your vote gets counted. Now, what if you're asked for ID for some other reason and you just don't have it? You can cast a challenged ballot. You still get to vote, and your ballot is cast just like everyone else's. It's only set aside to be looked at later if there's a super close election that needs a recount. The bottom line is, your vote still counts. Okay, but what if there's a bigger problem and your name isn't on the voter list when you check in? Even in that situation, you still have the right to vote. You'll be given a provisional ballot, which lets the election officials verify your registration later on and make sure your vote is counted. And that's the whole thing. From finding your polling place to casting your ballot, you now have a complete map for Election Day. The system is designed with all these steps and safeguards to be straightforward and secure, making sure every voice can be heard. And now you know the steps. Just so you can plan ahead, the next municipal election day is November 4, 2025.